This one covers solo STOL practice after getting the Super Patriot home, and addressing a bunch of feedback that you guys noticed, and we noticed as well when looking at the footage of the takeoffs. Watch that tail. We'll learn about why this sort of horizontal stabilizer flutter is a unique characteristic of all the modern Cub variants. In this episode, I also introduced the airplane to Dave.
I'm going to be out here for like ever in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, this is so fun.
I took full advantage of having this airplane at home for a month, lots of dialing in my STOL technique, sharing it with friends and family, while evaluating it in great detail. But no question, looking at this footage shows some potentially alarming stuff when you observe the tail. So we were at AirVenture, and I got Don to really give us a deep dive on the engineering and the design stuff related to the tails of modern Cubs. I had the opportunity to spend a lot of quality time with this airplane while the RV-14 was away for paint. And I'm saying goodbye to my silver baby. She's gonna not be silver next time I see her. A future episode will cover the flight to Alabama and the paintwork, but this one is about what we got up to in the meantime. Thank you for trusting me with your airplane.
You know, if anybody on the planet can be trusted with an airplane, it's gotta be you, brother.
I ferried it home back to Canada to play with it in the Toronto area for a couple weeks, and then brought it to Windsor to do a quick checkout for Dave.
Alright, fun times. This is novelty for me. Checking Dave out.
It was going to be Dave's job to ferry the airplane back to Patriot Aircraft at AirVenture.
RV, half-mile southwest of Fisk, crack your wings. Good rock, I see you. Make a right turn. Fly over Fisk Avenue. You're getting 1-8. I'll be right back with you. Stay with me.
He's got a real day job, so Dave couldn't do the AirVenture arrival on Friday like I did.
Anybody on frequency, go direct, Griffin, as fast as you can. We're trying to beat the weather.
I'm going as fast as I can.
So I managed to get in Friday evening before the weekend storms arrived, but it was busy because everybody else had the same idea. So that's what's coming at us.
Please seek shelter. Again, the National Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm warning, arriving in Oshkosh around 5:55.
But Dave did make it in just before the evening storms rolled in on Saturday night. And it's going to be fun to cross-compare the two trips that we did, flying very different airplanes to the event.
How you doing? Hey, doing good. Yeah, well, I mean, it's mine until it's at boost 219. Okay. I'm just straight pilot.
Between us, Dave and I got to know the Super Patriot really well, and we were able to form some solid opinions which we'll be sharing.
That'll actually be a cool shot. RV-14 as the Patriot goes by.
Both airplanes were outside during the evening storms, but we were relieved to find them okay in the morning. So the AirVenture arrival is going to be its own episode in and of itself, but for this one, I wanted to address the most prevalent feedback from the previous Super Patriot episode. Alright, so we're here with Don and the Patriot, which I've sadly dropped back off to AirVenture. I'm going to miss this airplane. So the first video was already published, and we got a lot of feedback on something that we did notice. Tail was fluttering a little bit on the static takeoffs. I'm gonna show it more in the videos that really get into the STOL stuff, which will come. Well, I guess this is gonna cut into that video actually. But anyways, I figured I'd go to the man himself to get some feedback about what exactly is going on and what maybe could be done to improve it, or talk about it being a Cub thing. Or
any airplane that's based off of a Super Cub platform, this is inherent with the design of these airplanes. You see some of the airplanes that have trim tabs on them, and the horizontal doesn't move, kind of like a Decathlon or Citabra, even Stearman and Waco. Their horizontals are fixed, and so they have even some of them like pits. They have a brace even coming up underneath to support the horizontal itself, and that's because it doesn't move. I think you're going to probably show some videos. Hopefully, one of the videos you're going to show is of one of the other companies' modern airplanes. And holy cow, that thing's a moving, but it's been built into the system.
So there's no even need to consider strengthening it because you're confident the movement is what it's made for?
Oh, it's what it's made for. The more you try to take it away and try to make it where it doesn't flex, it's going to create more problems. It's got to flex.
I'd essentially had that talk with Don after debriefing the footage of my initial flying, so I felt confident to continue building some STOL skills. And of course, for super detailed debriefing, I have to shout out Cloud Ahoy. It's just freaking cool to be able to deconstruct a flight into specific segments. Here's the particular pattern that I'm working on debriefing now. For VFR and IFR flying, it'll also auto-detect and score particular maneuvers and procedures. And even in the case of this STOL flying, it's one click away to look at the details for a particular landing. And again, to be clear, I'm not a STOL expert. I'm not being super aggressive here, flying at the extreme back end of the power curve or braking hard enough to get the tail up. But this airplane has such a great envelope that I quickly started getting comfortable landing shorter and shorter. I was braking pretty hard here to get the tail light, if not actually keeping it off the ground like the super STOL guys do right until the point when they stop. And for takeoff, I'm working on the trick where you pull full flaps at rotation. And even with my sloppy newbie technique, the takeoffs are pretty impressively short. It was nostalgic to be flying this airplane at the same grass strip where I'd learned to fly tailwheel in this 1956 Super Cub. And it's part of that also because there's just more power. Like in the stock Super Cub that I used to fly is a 1956, it's probably 150 horse, right?
Right.
So that one, I tried to look at it, didn't seem to move as much, but it's also not dealing with as much slipstream or...
It's not near as much power, exactly. You know, the prop wash, the slipstream that we're getting on these airplanes nowadays is pretty wicked. But it's amazing. I've been working on these airplanes for many, many, many years, and I've yet to see a failure here.
And fast forward to a couple weeks later, I've got about 15 hours on the airplane now, and it's so much fun to confidently rotate before the airspeed is even reading, like it still dashes, and then have the airplane back on the ground and stopped within 2 minutes. I thought I'd share this example of an uncut, tight, low pattern at a local grass strip near the museum in Windsor. And again, to be clear, this is not meant to be instructional. This is just me sharing as I work through it. I'm fairly happy with how this one went. I didn't go super hardcore in terms of a properly executed, steep, stable approach on the back end of the power curve, so I ended up needing to slip quite aggressively at the end to hit my mark, but it worked out well. I definitely had a teeny bit more energy than I even wanted, so you'll notice when I round out, it still floats for a tiny bit. If you do this right, as soon as you try to break the descent with the last bit of energy you've got, it should plop right down on the main gear. I've shared some previous training with this stuff if you want to look at that in more detail, but for now, let's let the last minute flying the base and final approach legs play without me talking. I had Martin with me for this one. We shared the first flight of his RV-8 in the previous episode.
I'm nervous as hell.
And of course, Dave is in that one as well. He was actually behind the camera at AirVenture.
Clear prop!
Helping me formulate some of the questions during the interview with Don.
What's going on, especially with our higher powered engines, we have the slipstream of the prop coming around the fuselage, and so it's kind of funny if you ever watch a J3 or like our Super Cubs, as they're flying, the lower door will stay sucked up against the door. That's because the prop-wise slipstream is coming around it and is pushing that door up against the fuselage. Well, the other side, if there was a door over there, we want to lift it. So that's what's going on here, is that extra power and that thrust is trying to push this one down and it's trying to lift the other one. That's why, again, these have the braces back here. But even here, if you zoom in, I want to show you this right here. It's pretty interesting. Even this little guy right here, watch that move back and forth, okay? That's because it has to move. Even this guy up here, it has to move as well. Watch this right there. And the reason for that, if it didn't, it would break, because it's basically pivoting right here is what's going on, because you can't put a brace on the front of the horizontal. You can't do it, because this all has to move, because if it didn't, the trim system wouldn't even work.
Maybe I would talk about what that is. What is it made out of that can tolerate that level of kind of flex?
You know, as far as construction of the tubing and everything, it's 4130 chromoly steel, and again, it is the way the ribbing and the braces underneath are situated. It's all about that give and take. It's able to do that twist. There's one change that they made to these wires in the history of these things, and it's that little old bitty washer right there. And you know why they did that? It's because it's such a hard bend, and it just reinforces that joint. That was the only failure point on these flying wires.
So I hope that helps clear up and address one of the main concerns that everybody, us included, had about the airplane. There were a few other minor things, one of which was a sort of stiffness in the controls.
It really does, like, because you want that, like, tactile. I feel like the airplane's not talking to me.
I know.
I noticed this as well during my initial checkout with Don.
Yeah, you guys getting used to that throttle? Yep, go ahead and get used to the throttle and let's do a stick movement. Oh yeah, I was going to do a control screen correct when I get there with everything, but I guess I can do stick on its own. Yeah, so I see what you mean, there's a little bit of stiffness there.
Don had warned me that I might feel the autopilot servos, but as it turns out, one of the servos actually had an issue increasing drag. The manufacturer had come by the booth during AirVenture to assess, and I'm told a replacement servo to swap out is currently in the mail.
That's the beauty of the Garmin servos. They're like not connected. It's no physical clutch, or I don't know, or clutchless, or is that what they call them?
I think they're actually called brushless, and that's what we've got in the RV14, so that's a legit plug because I am very happy with that equipment. Keep in mind though, this is serial number 1 of this aircraft, so the rigging of the control cables themselves are also likely a contributing factor. Patriot Aircraft says the goal is to keep this aircraft feeling stable rather than twitchy, and they let me know that they've heard my feedback on this, and while the more recently finished serial number 2 is lighter on the controls, they're still exploring a few different methods to change and improve the input to make the weight of the controls feel even lighter, which I really appreciate.
I'm going to be out here for, like, ever in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, this is so fun.
It is.
What I should do actually is get out. You want me to get out? You could do a couple?
You want to film them or something?
I didn't bring a real camera, but I just want to have you see the difference.
Okay, I'll let you out at the start.
I'll use my phone.
Yeah, sounds good.
The Dave checkout is going to be a full episode, and we'll share more detailed feedback and a few of our other little nitpicks, but largely, we're both really impressed with this airplane. So I'm checking Dave out. This is not something I get to do very often. Pretty fun. I think I'm somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 hours, 15 hours in that airplane, and it's just been a ball. So today is handed over to Dave day, and he's just getting used to it. He's going to play with it for a little bit, and then he will be the one flying it to AirVenture. So I'm just out here at the local grass strip in Windsor, and Dave is doing his first solo in the Super Patriot. He's got too much energy. He's still learning how to lose that energy. And of course, it took no time for Dave to get this thing figured out.
Rolling.
So just like last time, if you can leave comments about anything specific you'd like to see covered in the next ones, I'm currently editing that and I'll be publishing it next, so I'll try to address direct feedback if I can. We went through a lot of details while we worked through it together, and I'm stoked to share our collective AirVenture arrival episodes as well.
The old hot start, I even got that figured out. Clear prop. Yeah, she likes a nice closed throttle hot start. There she is.
And until next time, keep your flight chops sharp.
Stagger wing, I want you one turn to final. Don't square it off all the way down to the yellow dot. Stagger wing, all the way down to the yellow dot. Clear to land.
Back to the old stomping grounds.
Twin, turn downwind. Twin, turn your downwind. There you go, Twin. Start your descent also, please. That's right, RV. Keep it coming down.
Dang, it's windy. Hey.
Sure. Welcome to Oshkosh.
Thanks.
You been before?
Yeah.
Okay, then it makes it a little easier. So, the West Ramp crew that gets you back to your exhibitor booth has gone home for the day.
Yeah, of course.